Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express, and the PIB from the UPSC CSC Prelims perspective. Displayed are the list of articles which we are going to discuss in today's video. The first article of the day says that to soothe the growing clamor for the reduction in the 18% tax levy on the premium paid for health and life insurance policies, the Goods and Service Tax Council on Monday set the stage for a possible rethink by mandating a stiff 50-day deadline for a new group of ministers to review the tax rate. In this context, let us talk about various aspects related to GST Council. So, what is GST Council all about? See, the GST Council is a constitutional body responsible for making recommendations on issues related to implementation of the Goods and Services Tax in India. Know that the 101st Amendment Act of 2016 paved the way for the introduction of GST. So, the Amendment Act inserted a new Article 279A in the Constitution, which empowers the President to constitute a GST Council or by an order. Now, who are the members of the Council? Firstly, the Union Finance Minister. Then, the Union Minister of State in charge of Revenue or Finance. Also, the Minister in charge of Finance or Taxation or any other minister nominated by each state government. Lastly, any person nominated by the governor of the state where there is a proclamation of emergency under Article 356 of the Constitution of India. Furthermore, the GST Council is required to make recommendations to the centre and the states on the following matters. Firstly, the taxes, cesses and the surcharges levied by the centre, the states and the local bodies would be subsumed into the GST. Secondly, the goods and services that may be subjected to or exempted from GST. Thirdly, the model GST laws, principles of levy, apportionment of GST levied on supplies in the course of interstate trade or commerce, and the principles that govern the place of study. Then the threshold limit of turnover below which the goods and services may be exempted from GST. Next, any special rate or rates for a specified period to raise additional resources during any natural calamity or disaster. And lastly, recommending the date on which the GST may be levied on petroleum crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel. The second article of the day says that the Defence Ministry on New Delhi, Monday, signed 26,000 crore rupees contract with Hindustan Aeronauticals Limited for 240 AL-31FP aero engines for Su-30 MKI aircraft. Further, the Russian engines are assembled under the license by HAL in India. Know that the Cabinet Committee on Security approved the deal last week. In this context, let us talk about the Su-30 MKI aircraft. See, it is a multi-role combat fighter aircraft jointly developed by the Sukhoi Design Bureau and the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited for the Indian Air Force. Furthermore, know that based on the Su-30 fighter aircraft, Su-30 MKI is equipped with thrust vectoring control and canards. Then, what about the features of the aircraft? See, it is the 4th generation fighter jet powered by two AL-31FP aero engines. Know that AL-31FP is a high temperature turbojet bypass engine of modular design. Notably, the Su-30 MKI fleet of Indian Air Force was fitted with air-launched version of BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles and successfully tested in November 2017. Know that it is fitted with a Tarang radar warning receiver indigenously developed by the Defence Research and Development Organization. Significantly, the aircraft has a maximum unrefueled flight range of 3,000 kilometers. Additionally, the in-flight refueling system of Su-30 MKI provides a maximum range of 8,000 kilometers with 2 refuelings. Notably, the indigenous additions to Su-30 MKI weaponry include BrahMos and Astra air-to-air missiles, with further integration are anticipated involving new generation anti-radiation missiles. Know that the manufacturer of it is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The next article says that the Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, released the joint doctrine for amphibious operations during the Chiefs of Staff Committee meeting held on Monday. In this context, let us talk about the Chief of Defence Staff. See, its creation was recommended in 2001 by a group of ministers that was tasked with studying the Kargil Review Committee report. Finally, the post of CDS was created in the year 2019 on the recommendations of the Committee of Defence Experts headed by Lieutenant General D.B. Shekatkar. Know that General Bipin Rawat was the first CDS in the country and was appointed on 31st December 2019. Then what are the roles and responsibilities of CDS? Firstly, he is the permanent chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. So, the Chief of Defence Staff will be the permanent chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. Furthermore, he shall administer all tri-service organizations and commands. Also, he functions as the military advisor to the Nuclear Command Authority. Additionally, he implements the 5-year Defence Capital Acquisition Plan and the 2-year role on annual acquisition plans. Also, he will coordinate operation, logistics, transport, training, support services communications, etc. of all 3 services. Moreover, he also heads the newly created Department of Military Affairs in the Ministry of Defence. Significantly, as the head of Department of Military Affairs, the Chief of Defence Staff is vested with the authority in prioritizing the inter-service procurement decisions as permanent chairman-chiefs of a staff committee. Notably, the Chief of Defence Staff is also vested with the authority to provide directives to the 3 chiefs. However, he does not enjoy any command authority over any of the forces. Know that CDS is the first among equals. So he enjoys the rank of secretary within the Department of Defence and his powers will be confined to only the revenue budget. The next article says that the Finance Ministry has shot down a proposal from the Agriculture Ministry to provide a one-time incentive of 20,000 rupees per hectare to farmers who adopt natural farming, saying it was much higher than what was earlier approved. In this context, let us talk about the relevant aspects. Firstly, talking about natural farming, it is a way of chemical-free farming based on desi cow and locally available resources with no chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Furthermore, it promotes traditional indigenous practices which give freedom to farmers from externally purchased inputs. Significantly, it is largely based on on-farm biomass recycling with major stress on biomass mulching, use of on-farm desi cow dung urine formulation, managing pests through diversity, on-farm botanical concoctions, and exclusion of all synthetic chemical inputs directly or indirectly. Know that the emphasis is given on improving the natural nutrient cycling and increase in organic matter in the soil, which can help with climate change resilience and carbon sequestration in soils. Some of the government initiatives to promote natural farming in India are Parampargat Krishi Vikas Yojna, Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati, National Mission on Natural Farming. If we have to dive deep into the National Mission on Natural Farming, see, it aims at creating institutional capacities for documentation and dissemination of best practices, make practicing farmers as partners in promotion strategy, ensure capacity building and continuous hand-holding, and finally attracting the farmers to natural farming willingly on the merit of the system. Remember that the nodal ministry is the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare under the Ministry of Agriculture. If we have to look at the core objectives of the mission, see, firstly, it is to promote alternative system of farming for freedom from external purchased inputs, cost reduction, and thereby increasing the income of farmers. Secondly, to popularize the integrated agriculture animal husbandry models based on livestock and local resources. Thirdly, to collect, validate, and document natural farming being practiced across the country and encourage participatory research with farmers on upscaling of the mission. Then, to undertake the activities for awareness creation, capacity building, promotion and demonstration of natural farming. And lastly, to create a standards, certification procedure and branding for natural farming products. The next article says that less than a fortnight before Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi is expected to travel to US, Washington, on Monday announced a new partnership with India. This is to explore the semiconductor supply chain opportunities, which will include a comprehensive assessment of India's existing semiconductor ecosystem, regulatory framework, workforce and infrastructure needs. Further, that it will serve as the basis for potential future joint initiatives to strengthen and grow this critical sector according to the US. In this context, let us talk about the India Semiconductor Mission first and then about the Semicon India program. See, the India Semiconductor Mission is a specialized and independent business division within the Digital India Corporation. Significantly, it aims to build a vibrant semiconductor and display ecosystem to enable India's emergence as a global hub for electronics manufacturing and design. Furthermore, envisioned to be led by global experts in the semiconductor and display industry, the India Semiconductor Mission will serve as the nodal agency for efficient, coherent, and smooth implementation of the schemes. Now, what are the objectives of India Semiconductor Mission? See, firstly, to formulate a comprehensive long-term strategy for developing sustainable semiconductor and display manufacturing facilities. Then, to facilitate the adoption of secure microelectronics and develop a trusted semiconductor supply chain. Thirdly, to enable growth of India's semiconductor design industry through support mechanisms for the startup. Next, to promote indigenous intellectual property generation and facilitate the transfer of technologies. Furthermore, to establish mechanisms to harness economies of scale and enable cutting-edge research in semiconductors. And lastly, to foster collaborations and partnership programs with national and international agencies, industries, and institutions. Now, moving on to talk about the Semicon India program. See, it aims to provide attractive incentive support to companies or consortia that are engaged in silicon semiconductor fabs, display fabs, compound semiconductors or silicon photonics or sensor fabs, semiconductor packaging, and semiconductor design. Notably, the program will give an impetus to the semiconductor and display manufacturing by facilitating capital support and technological collaborations. The next article of the day says that nearly a dozen companies are set to raise approximately 20,000 crore rupees through initial public offerings from the market in September. In this context, let us talk about the initial public offerings, in short called the IPO. See, IPO is a type of issue where an unlisted company raises capital by making a fresh issue of securities or offering its existing securities for sale to the public for the first time. Then, who is allowed to invest in an IPO? See, the qualified institutional buyers is a category of investors that include foreign portfolio investors, mutual funds, commercial banks, insurance companies, pension funds, etc. Know that the QIBs are those institutional investors who are generally perceived to possess expertise and financial capacities to evaluate and invest in the capital markets. Furthermore, where do the proceeds of the IPO go? See, if the issue raises fresh capital, the proceeds of the IPO go to the company and can be utilized for future growth, expansion, debt reduction, etc. But if the issue involves offer for sale by promoters or existing investors, then the money goes to them and not to the company. Then what is an FPO? See, the follow-on public offer, in short called the FPO, also known as the secondary offering, is a process in which an existing company listed on stock exchanges issues new shares to the existing shareholders as well as new investors. So, an FPO allows a company to raise additional funds through the issuance of new shares. The next article says that a critically endangered species, the elongated tortoise, which was spotted in Haryana's Damdama area during a research survey in the Aravallis. In this context, let us talk about its features. See, the tortoise is a medium-sized with a yellowish brown or olive shell and distinct black blotches at the center of each scute. Know that this tortoise has on its nostril a pink ring which appears in the breeding season. Notably, mature individuals of both sexes develop a distinct pinkish coloration surrounding the nostrils and eyes during the season. Furthermore, the tortoise found in the Sal, deciduous and hilly evergreen forests is distributed across the Southeast Asia from northern India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh in the west, eastward through Myanmar, Thailand, and all of Indochina, north to Guangxi province of China, and south to peninsular Malaysia. Remember that the elongated tortoises were assessed for the International Union for Conservation of Nature's IUCN Red List threatened species in 2018. So, They belong to the Appendix 2 of the Convention of the International Trade in the Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna, in short called the CITES. The next article says that the All India CPI industrial workers for July of 2024 increased by 1.3 point and stood at 142.7. In this context, let us talk about the Consumer Price Index, in short called the CPI. See, it measures the price changes from the perspective of a retail buyer. Know that CPI based inflation data is compiled by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation along with the Labour Bureau under the Ministry of Labour. Furthermore, there are different types of CPI in India. Firstly, CPI for industrial workers, which measures price changes for goods and services consumed by the workers in industries. Secondly, CPI for urban non-manual employees, which focuses on price variations for urban non-manual employees and is compiled by the National Statistic Office. Thirdly, CPI for agricultural laborers, which assesses the price fluctuations for agricultural laborers and is used to calculate minimum wages in the agriculture sector across different states. And lastly, CPI for rural laborers, compiled by the Labour Bureau, which reflects the price movements specifically for rural laborers. Significantly, the Monetary Policy Committee uses the CPI data to control the inflation. Know that the Reserve Bank of India has adopted the CPI as its key measure of inflation in April of 2014. Notably, CPI is calculated regarding a base year, which is used as a benchmark. So, the price reference year has been selected as the calendar year of 2012. Hence, the CPI is calculated by dividing the cost of the market basket in the year by the price of the market basket in the base year into 100. The last article of the day says that over 5 years of implementation, the PMKMY has significantly empowered small and marginal farmers across India. In this context, let us talk about the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Maandhan Yojna. See, the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Maandhan Yojna, which was launched on September 12th of 2019, is a voluntary pension scheme for small and marginal farmers in India. Now, moving on to look at its key features. Firstly, eligible farmers receive a monthly pension of 3,000 rupees after turning 60. Secondly, farmers aged 18 to 40 contribute between 55 rupees and 200 rupees monthly with matching contributions from the government. Then the Life Insurance Corporation manages the fund with registration through common services centers and the state governments. Know that the farmers with land holdings up to 2 hectares listed in the state or UT records as of August 1st of 2019 are eligible for this scheme. Significantly, as of August 6th of 2024, 23.38 lakh farmers are enrolled. Bihar leads with over 3.4 lakh registrations, followed by Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Orissa. If we have to look at the key benefits under the scheme, firstly, the beneficiary gets 3,000 rupees per month after the age of 60. Furthermore, the spouse of a deceased beneficiary receives 1,500 rupees per month if not already a beneficiary. Also, farmers can use PM Kisan benefits for voluntary contributions. Additionally, the central government matches the farmers' contributions. So, overall, the scheme aims to provide a financial security to small and marginal farmers in their old age. So, in this video, we have discussed 9 articles in total for today from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.